Hello, making a putty video with my giraffe together. And gotta get this out. It's nice. Very nice is this. Larp putty. I've been watching documentary films, and I always watch documentary films, particularly with the subject mental illness, psychology, child abuse, trauma, PTSD, those types of videos that are kind of depressing, but the trauma is already there inside of me, so I could not repress that trauma even with videos that are not depressing. I also watch videos that are not depressing, of course. I watch all kinds of videos, all kinds of self-help and meditation, relaxation, all of this. But my specific interest is with psychology and trauma resolution, healing, finding the core mental, as what Arjanov called the primal scenes in our lives that had an impact on our future, how we live, how we process information, how we deal with other people, and so on. So it's very important to look at the core issues, the core primal scenes that occurred in your life, that shaped your life in a difficult way, to say the least. So we need to look at it in order to address it and in order to talk about it and cry it out. This is very, very important. So I want to talk about depersonalization and what exactly this situation is when people see someone, an animal or human, and there's a depersonalization process going on inside of their brains when they see that other being. Okay, and this happens on a massive scale. This is what the core problem is in the whole world. That's where all the suffering comes from. All kinds of problems come from that. Religiousness and nationality and one group against another. All of this ties in with that particular subject of depersonalization. And I want to use a couple of examples to make this more clear what's actually happening when people are depersonalizing the other being. Okay, so let's start with the factory farms. Okay, and trucks coming up. UPS guys here. So in fact, factory farms, what happens there is the workers there or the company owners or owner or CEO or whoever these people are that are running that business. It's a profit maximization business, of course. They are depersonalizing the animals. So they see the animals simply as commodities. Even family farmers are doing it by calling their animals bacon. Okay, I've seen that many times now. They think this is kind of funny or something, but this is something that's occurring very, very often. That they are giving the animals names like that, food names. Also, they also deliberately do this to make sure their children never really form a close bond with their personal farm animals. A friendship, a real friendship, love. I went to a Bioland farm, organic farm. It's more like a franchise type of thing. Bioland, they get that label when they meet certain requirements, and I think they have to pay some kind of license fee for that, so that they will be listed as Bioland, like small family farm or something. So, and I asked them, I went to visit one farm for one day. I went over there. I was studying at the university, and I just took on too many projects, which was extremely stressful. I just took on way more projects than I could handle. Everything became my project. Everything, I saw a problem somewhere, I had to help. This is also, this is also not beneficial for me at all. It's very difficult for me to block something off. I see something, I see suffering happening, and I have to go over there. I have to do an investigation. I have to interview people. I have to write blogs. I have to bring attention to a specific subject. It was a difficult time. So that's why that's also all that stress, all of that led up to me dropping out of university. But that's okay, this is all part of my school. But one day I went over to that Bioland farm down there in South Germany, and I talked to these people, and the lady was strangely detached from everything, like she'd somehow shut down her mind. I saw a cow, happy, healthy, beautiful cow, was being led on a head harness into a building. An hour later, I walk by there. There's the head of that cow, sitting in its blood on top of a fence. This was very traumatic for me. And there was a little boy. He was like 6 years old, exposed to that carnage, to that horror, to this live horror movie playing out there with that head of the cow. 6-year-old little boy exposed to that. If it was for me, if I was a governor or chair or prime minister or president of any region or country, I would end that completely. It would stop with me. I would put an end to this altogether. To any kind of farming with animals, where they butcher animals. Farm can have an animal, but they can't hurt that animal. So for the animal and for the children. So this is such horror. It was such horror for me to see that healthy, happy cow. Clean, very clean, black and white, large cow going into that led into that building. She didn't know what was going to happen. An hour later, her head was there on that fence. it's like, how is this possible? This kind of thing happens because of depersonalization. Okay. They view that cow like someone views a carrot, or like me viewing this thing here. I do this here, I tear on it like this, it tears, and it's kind of fun, I mean, I know this is not sentient, so this is not a person. It's already not a person, so I don't have to depersonalize it. But a giraffe or a cow is a real living being, is a real person. Okay, so not this here, because this is a stuffed hand puppet. But a real animal is a real person with a central nervous system like you have. Okay, the giraffe has the same central nervous system. Okay, a cortex, a brain that processes feelings and pain and all of that. I think a lot of people don't even know that. It's never even discussed in biology or in classes. Instead, they learn creationism with horrific messages for the world. Okay, that's why the overall messages from the Bible are horrific messages that are in themselves depersonalization processes, okay, that call for depersonalization, that call for speciesism and all of this. Okay. So that call for human centrism, anthropocentrism, putting the human puts itself into a center. So, like everything revolves very self-centeredly around the human as the center of their universe, of their galaxy or whatever. That's why they took this so personally that they murdered people that would say that the Earth is not the center of the galaxy. So that the sun, is not a servant to this planet. That the sun is not revolving around us. The sun is a center point. So whoever would say this, Galileo Galilei, they get incarcerated. They got threatened. You either revoke that statement, or we're going to torture you to death. You have a choice. Yeah, that's dictatorship of the ego, of depersonalization. And even the sun is not the center of this galaxy. There are many other suns. Okay, the stars we see are other suns. That's why we see them, because they glow with their magma of what's that called? Fusion, nuclear fusion. So it's very, very bright. And each of those has things orbiting around that. Okay, so because that has the highest gravity point. So learning, learning about truth, reality is also an ongoing process, okay? And there is no such thing as a center. The ultimate center does not exist, okay? Because everything is endless in the infinite cosmos, so it's endlessness into all directions. And as David Bohm always said, the word all is a very human, narrow-minded idea, concept. There's no such thing as all. This all thing in the German language, all, means all, and it also means the universe. That in itself is a misconception. The universe, if we have multiple universes, then we can say, okay, this is one and that's another. But I don't think that is the case. I just think that things are churning and moving and that it just goes on forever. All the way around and into all directions and into infinite direction, really, So because there are infinitely many direction points that it can go towards from one place in an infinite coordinate system. So this little boy at the farm, I hope he's safe. He's a grown man now. I hope he's safe. I hope he's feeling good. I hope he is successful with his life, and I hope that this one encounter with me, that one conversation with me in that pig farm when he handed me a baby piglet. Later on, when I watched that film Silence of the Lambs, where Jodie Foster's character says that when she was a child, she knew they were all going to be slaughtered, the sheep, so she went over there to rescue a baby sheep and carried that baby sheep. Was already heavy, and she just kept running and running and running away from the farm with that baby sheep, hoping to rescue that baby sheep from that slaughtered chamber. Okay. And at some point she could not run anymore because the sheep was too heavy for her. So I don't know how the story ended then, but looking back in retrospect, that's what that little boy reminds me of. As he handed me that real sweet little pink baby piglet. Baby piglet was about the size, like a foot long. A squeaky, quirky, bubbly little marzipan piglet. Like the sweetest living being. And I held that piglet in my arm with awe and with love. And as I was listening to the little boy, and I could see the concern in his voice. Concern for those pigs. And he was not even feeling like a little boy. He wasn't even feeling his childhood. He didn't even really have a childhood because he had high compassion. He has high compassion. And growing up with that situation, seeing the animals being butchered into pieces and seeing these beautiful, incredibly sweet baby piglets there. and the mother pig and the father pig, the whole family, and knowing that they're just living their days until they get slaughtered. To comprehend that information, that's more than a child can handle, particularly a highly sensitive child. So he wasn't really accusing his parents, or it was more like a subtle plea for help for me. And he said, yeah, and they're going into the slaughter chamber. All of them, he said. And that's terrible. And I think he said something like asking me to help, to do something. Like I needed to know this, so maybe there was a way that I could help. And there was no way I could help, because the law was not on our side, obviously. We can't just call the police and say all of these pigs are going to get slaughtered. The police officers, says, it's legal. That's what the farm does. That's what they do. We kill you, see. That's the most normal thing in the world. That's what some people at the equator would say. Okay, we'll kill you. And that's the same thing, They kill the pigs. They don't think anything of that situation. They have depersonalized the pigs. They have made non-persons out of them. They have commoditized them into a material, into a commodity, into a material to be used, utilized, for their commerce, for their financial gain. People do this with animals and with other humans. This happens all around the globe. That's what depersonalization is. And I got bubbles in my throat. And that's what people do with all kinds of living beings. That's what they do with employees. That's what they do with women, little girls. Seems like the majority of humans are actually depersonalizing another living being, an animal or human. All the time. This happens all the time. And we need to become aware about this, first of all. We need to become very aware of this. The very first step is to become aware of this and to stand up against that situation of depersonalization and making a material or commodity out of a highly sentient, feeling, living being with a central nervous system, as in pigs, humans, dogs, giraffes, hippos, zebras, gorillas, and the list goes on. Rabbits, cats, deer, the birds out there, parrots, rodents, people call them rodents. It's another form of depersonalization. That terminology, rodent, it's like rodenticide, What a horrible thing. Genocide. Horrible. Those are sentient beings. Okay? If you don't want them going into your walls and doing indoor rock climbing and chewing up electric cords and other things, okay, then you need to keep your kitchen immaculately clean, and you need to give them birth control. Name tree birth control. Okay, so do a little bit research, do a little bit more work for the animal. Don't depersonalize those living sentient beings. They have feelings. Never use glue traps, poisons, or pesticides of any form. Never, ever, ever, ever. Never, ever hurt another living being. It's the very first step that we have to make as a species, the human species, to come to the realization that there are many, 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 many highly sentient living beings on this planet. With a central nervous system, okay, who feel pain and emotions, loneliness, fear, friendship, companionship, love. Okay. They grieve. They also look at a landscape and enjoy. Those are not just human characteristics. All highly sentient species share that with one another. Okay. And we need to become aware about this. And hurting animals and slaughtering animals and hunting animals needs to come to an end. Okay? We can't do this anymore. No more. We cannot go on anymore. That has to come to an end. And it has to end with you. You have to end that. Even if others don't end it. You end it. And if your friends are mean to you because you end it, if they call you names, you know what they do. They bully people into their own ways of living. Don't let them bully you into it. Say, okay, if you can't accept that I live this way, that I am different than you, if you can't accept that, if you have to be mean and use insults, then I'm going the other direction. Then I'm walking away from you. Okay? It's as simple as that. And you quit the contact with those people. You don't write back. Okay? You block them. You go your own way. You can try to educate people, but if they are in no way receptive to it, because their identities are built on those ways that they have been drilled into by their fathers, if they're not ready to look at it from another perspective, and they get frightened. Some of them get frightened by you leaving this lifestyle, by you abandoning this type of worldview. They get frightened. And if they do get frightened, become vicious, you walk away. You might have to use self-defense if they become violent physically. But if they're just bullying you, you walk away. Don't bully them back. That doesn't do anything. That's just war. Okay, so don't do road rage with anyone. You walk away in a safe way. You walk away and you go no contact. Okay? And you start. That's your responsibility, and that would be wonderful of you to make that decision to end the suffering in your life, to not allow suffering anymore in your life. Okay? So you guys take care. Bye bye.